Right, I think I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Cool. Let's rock and roll. Ding, 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 ding. Look at that. It's Friday and it's time for another episode. About a year ago, I did a conversation with Ross from Black Harbour. Some of you may know him. Some of you may have listened to the episode. If you didn't listen to the episode, go back. It's episode 13 and have a listen to that one. So I caught up with him this week to chat about what his plans were as a musician for 2020 and asked how his 2020 started and what are the plans looking like now under the current circumstances. So without wasting any time, let's slide into that conversation. What's happening? How are things going on your side?
Yeah, all good on my side. Nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Just been a bit, or keeping myself busy with writing and working on stuff or practicing stuff. It's been a while since I did that. Like actually sat and practiced. You get so busy within the musical environment or whatever that you end up performing in whatever a lot. But that sort of childhood, I want to get really good at something kind of vanishes because you're so busy,
Yeah.
So it's been cool to be able to do that. Lots of extra time to utilize for those kinds of things, which has been rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So just keeping myself busy with music, really.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, writing, recording a bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, at the beginning of the year, I mean, I'm sure you had some grand plans for what 2020 was going to hold for you as a musician. You went off to Italy at the beginning of the year. I don't think we've really spoken very much about your experience there. I can remember following you.
I think in the last time that we spoke in a more formal capacity, I was mentioning that it was in the prep. We were preparing to do that.
Yeah.
So essentially what the little tour was about was going over and just establishing or just networking a bit, and just establishing a sort of base that we want to work from within Europe. Obviously because Kev is living there. Kevin, who's our co-founding member / bass player. So we went over and we played a few acoustic shows. And set some of the groundwork for what we hoped we would be able to use to tour again, which would have been probably in September. But obviously that's all on a halt now.
Yeah.
That's all been put.
So when did you actually go?
Being,
When did you actually go? Was it in January that you went to Italy?
Yeah, mid-Jan till just end of Jan. So, excuse me. As I was there, I started seeing the news freaking out about this virus that was born in or produced or whatever in China,
Yeah.
but it didn't, honestly speaking, it didn't ring any bells. It didn't alarm me. I was kind of on tour and I'm seeing this stuff like as I'm passing through venues and in the travels, and it didn't really bugged me. And when I got back to SA, that's when everything started becoming really serious.
Yeah.
We started seeing these numbers rising in like America and places in Europe and whatever. And then obviously Italy was hit really hard by it, So I may or may not have dodged a bullet in that sense. But like I said, when I was there, it wasn't a thing. I saw a lot of people with masks in travels, in public places, airports, trains and stuff, but it didn't register until I got back and we saw what was happening in Italy as well.
Yeah.
As China. And I was like, wow, that's heavy.
It's hectic, yeah. But I mean, how were the gigs that you played while you were there? I mean, how many did you play?
3, 4.
Okay. And what was
Yeah.
the feedback like from the people there?
I think that it's a different culture completely, and it was cool. Although we didn't, I mean, I didn't experience it in its entirety or nearly as much as I would have liked to. What I did pick up from it was that I definitely think that there's a greater sense for the appreciation of art and music in Europe and in those kinds of places, like Australia, the US, I would imagine, as well, versus getting used to the kind of almost like an apathy that exists within the South African climate. And it's not a generalization that I'm trying to make. It's just something that I've noticed. Maybe it's like the style of music that we play or the genres. Maybe it's rock and roll. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely found something there that was a deeper sense of appreciation for what I'm doing than what I've found just as a general consensus. I'm not saying that's how it is, and I'm not pretending to be, the voice of authority on how things are, but just from what I experienced, I do think that South African culture, I dare say white culture, and I can maybe elaborate on that a little bit later, but there's definitely like a kind of apathy that exists, sort of like blasé. We're all upset now because we're at home and we can't go out to gigs and stuff. But it's like when you do go, you on your phone and you're making a noise and you're not really like indulging in the process of consuming art. It goes two ways.
Yeah.
It comes from the artist and that is shared with the listener or the viewer, and it's a 50-50 relationship. Don't get me wrong. The artist is only as important as where that art's going to go and what it does.
Yeah.
So I just find it, I don't mean to come across as cynical as I'm sounding now, because generally I have a positive outlook on things, but based on that experience, I felt that there is something, to use the word again, there is an apathy that exists within South Africans. It's like, we'd rather go to the bar and watch the band, but we'll have some drinks first,
Yeah.
and it will first be, as opposed to like, we're not really fussed if we just going to go out and watch the band and then go home, where I think a lot of European countries in that have got more of that kind of approach to the arts.
Yeah, sure.
It's more about the art than about the alcohol. Maybe that's how I should have summed it up. Yeah.
Listen, dude, just give me 1 second. What I want to do is, they say the sound is a bit crackly, so what I'm going to do is I just want to try something, and then they can just tell me if they can still hear us. If you give me a second here.
Hello there, out there in the world of Facebook.
So we're just going to carry on talking. Just want to see, can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Let's just see if I get some feedback here quickly. Dude, like when you get to a point where, your sound is working very well, and then you try some new technology, and then something goes wrong.
You start all over again.
No. Like, it irritates the living shit out of me. Okay? So, just talk it so that I just want them to see.
I'll sing. Not really. Maybe later.
Yeah, maybe later. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm just checking now if they can hear both of us. If that's good, then we can good to go, because they did say the sound sounded better. I just wanted to make sure that they could hear both of us. Just want to see if I can. They did say the sound sounded better. I just wanted to make sure that they could hear both of us. Just want to see if I can. Yeah. Okay. Good. So when you guys went, when you went across there and you were going to do these gigs, did you? Yeah. What songs did you decide that you were going to play? When you guys went, when you went across there and you were going to do a playlist that you wanted to go with, because I know you did play a cover by one of my favorite blues artists from South Africa.
Yeah, we did have a basic
wanted to go with, because I know you
idea of the set list, but we've never really stuck to anything too solid, especially because I wasn't sure what would work with the new environment, you know. So
yeah.
So we played like 50-50 original stuff, Black Harbour stuff, and a few covers, you know, as we do, or interpretational vibes, more than outright covers, you know. Black Harbour stuff. So and a few. Yeah, I think you're talking about Mr. Petlansky. We did one of his tunes. Don't know if he knows. We did a bunch of our own stuff and just try to mix it up a little bit and see. And to be honest, the response kind of throughout it was a little tour, you know. So again, I didn't get a hell of a lot of time to really, you know, become familiar with the landscape. But from what I did experience, it was really positive, you know, and really well received. I must be honest though, the first venue that we played at, there was a kind of like hesitation from the organizers. I don't know if they maybe thought they're not sure what to expect.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, like what's, you know, and there was like, I think it was a Thursday night. It was obviously still winter and everything happens late. So we only started the gigs at like 10:10 at night, you know. Yeah. It's already been dark for 5 hours. It's freezing cold, and yet like we played small venues like 50, 60 seaters, but they were full like all of the shows, you know. It's already been dark for 5 hours. So that was very cool. It's freezing cold. So we rock up to sound check at this venue, and it's like freezing and there's nobody there. It's like we probably get there like 6, start doing the setup and whatever. And there's definitely like a tension, you know, and there's this language barrier as well.
Oh yeah.
Because, you know, the owners and the organizers, and they don't speak English or don't speak English very well, and we don't speak any Italian. I sound like a complete idiot. And you know, not to sound cheesy, but the only language that we both understand is we're going to play some blues, you know. So start getting going and start playing, and then it's like the tone just changed. Like, okay, yeah, I think these guys know what they're doing, you know. It's not like we were going to fly out to Italy to play some music if we didn't think that we could do it, you know. So maybe it settled down like quite nicely after that, you know. And that's all we could really
hope for, yeah.
Really hope to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like how long were you playing for? Like how many songs were you playing?
We played pretty long sets. We played for like 2 hours.
Okay.
You know, just Kevin and I. So it wasn't like a full band. It was just a duo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did play pretty long. Also because we would be like the only artists or whatever performing at each of the places. So obviously if it was going down well, there was no point for us to just can it. So we just kind of
absolutely.
Yeah, we just kind of owned it. Yeah. And
so
that was cool.
So I mean, the whole idea was that you wanted to go back and play this other festival or whatever you want to call it later in the year. I mean, did you guys get any feedback from the gigs that you did play there?
Nothing that I can really talk about per se, because there's nothing that's really been cast in concrete or everything's up in the air. So there was some feedback from some of the organizers and whatnot, but nothing. Everything is in such chaos at the moment that there's no telling, you know, what the next few months is going to look like for the musical landscape, for festivals, for live events, big gatherings of people and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's very off the cuff at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, towards the end of, from my feeling, I mean, you as a band or you as a musician had quite a good year last year. I mean, you were playing quite a few gigs. Did the Radium. You were playing at the Hard Rock in Joburg on a regular basis. You were playing out in Pretoria a couple of times. I mean, going into 2020, I'm sure you were hoping that it was just going to go to the next level.
I think in a funny way it has, because you either sink or swim, and what this has done, like I mentioned, is given me the opportunity to kind of refine some things that I've been working on for a long time or may not have had time to work on. So I was lucky. I've been lucky in the last 2 years to be extremely busy with the band and with the solo stuff. And like you said, playing quite regularly, all over the country, really. I definitely feel like I got to a point where there's something that I wanted to work on more seriously, and it would require a little bit of downtime. And that's exactly what this has provided. So although I had some goals for this year, it's definitely forced me to adapt those and maybe just change them or just put them on hold for the time being. While for this year, I utilize this time to write, record, create new music, and formulate a sort of plan or what I think the plan should be going forward. And as soon as things get up and going again, which I believe they will, hopefully we've used the time wisely enough to start establishing those new grounds.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just reading some comments there. They said you disappeared for a moment. God, I hate technology. When it's working, it's working. Anyway, yeah. So have you did a couple of live shows recently, with Discover TV and all that. How did that work out?
In the stream?
Yeah, in the stream. Yeah, live stream.
To be honest, it's a bit strange. It doesn't really feel like home to me. But again, it's something that I want to get used to, or I want to try to perfect it to the best of my ability. I haven't done anything very serious, so I've sort of done these live streams like kind of off the cuff.
Yeah.
Help out here, help out there, which is fine. It's cool. But I'm busy prepping something for the 18th of May, which is coming up now. I think it's actually going to be released tomorrow.
Okay.
The event.
Sure.
So I'll give you all the details for that. So I wasn't gonna talk about this as yet, but since we're here talking, then. So the 18th of May is the 3rd anniversary of the death of my hero, I guess, Chris Cornell.
Oh yeah.
So I've decided to do like a kind of tribute show, if you want to call it that.
Nice.
Done in a live stream to like the 90s musicians. So it's going to be doing music from Soundgarden, Audioslave, Nirvana, and Alice in Chains. So I've been working on that. Like the vocal stuff is pretty challenging.
Okay.
So I've spent a lot of time. Yeah. Any singer will know that like singing any of those artists is pretty tough vocally. So I've just been working on that a lot. So that's going to be on the 18th of May. And it will be like a Facebook live stream. Yeah. So all those event details will be up tomorrow.
Awesome. That sounds good, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so that will be something that I'm like working towards pretty hard, and I want to make it a bit more special. I think I understand where the live stream has come from and why artists are utilizing it, but I think that it's become heavily saturated very quickly. And there's a lot of like poor quality control that's come out from people just posting stuff online all the time, every day. You know, it loses, for me at least, it loses a little bit of the quality of what you're doing, and it's just quantity. And in some aspects, it's cool, but it can become kind of overwhelming or in your face, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that was what I wanted to ask you. I mean, because, you know, the whole idea of doing it live, well, I mean, when you do it live, there's this, it's a different dynamic because you don't have any sort of feedback from your audience per se. Because, you know, with other musicians that I've spoken to, you know, like they feed off that energy. I mean, when I was speaking to Dan, he was saying that, you know, like sometimes he has a bad night and he's not feeling it, but the crowd's not feeling it either. And then he says like he'll just play his set and, you know, it'll be what it is. But he says then sometimes you'll be at, say, for instance, the barnyard or whatever, and it's a good group of people and he like almost feeds off that energy and he puts extra effort into, you know, the gig that he's playing. I mean, how did you find that now you're just playing on a live stream and it's just basically maybe two of you sitting there? I mean,
that's exactly. So I think you've pretty much summed up like my exact kind of response to the live stream as well. Is that the point of performing live is for it to be live, and that interaction. Like I said, it's a 50-50. It's the artist and it's the audience, you know, and the audience is like, for me, more important than me even being there. It's the vibe that exists, you know, and that electricity that's created by like a good crowd or a bunch of people who want to just rock and roll. So I think that there's a place for this live stream, but is it something that I would want to do as a, you know, more permanent thing? No, not really.
Yeah.
But there's space for it to be done, and I think if it's done in the right way, I think if what you are performing or what like the messages that you're trying to get across or what you're trying to do is still honest and authentic, then it will hold some value. You know, you can get feedback in a different way, perhaps. From the live stream that's not really, or that exists within the digital environment that's not really plausible to all live environments. For example, the after feedback, you know, so it's not only the immediate response that you get from the crowd, but people that are engaging with it in real time, you know, enables you to see that later on.
Sure.
And be able to maybe connect with somebody who you may have missed in the chaos of a live show, you know? So there are benefits to it as well. Maybe a way to get involved with fans and that in a more personal sense than what you may be able to do at a live show.
Yeah. And the other thing, you know, the other point that you made about doing a live stream like that, well, the fact that there's so many people all of a sudden doing it at various levels of quality, you know, as you were saying, is that all of a sudden you're competing. You know, I say competing, but, you know, like you say, there's, you know, it's like saturated, and all of a sudden, you know, how do you differentiate yourself from the other guy that's doing the same thing at the same time on the same day kind of thing? And, so it must be difficult because another thing I was thinking about the comparison between doing a live gig and a live stream is that, like, for instance, if you were playing at an establishment like the Hard Rock or Calexico or wherever, the chances are there will be people that are there to come and watch and listen to you, your band, and then there are other people that will be there just by chance that A, might have heard you before, or B, might never have heard you guys before, and they just happen to be at the establishment like Calexico. I mean, you don't really get that kind of situation on a live stream. You know, there will be specific people that are coming to listen to you, and it's very seldom, I don't know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very seldom that someone's going to, on a Facebook live stream, is going to just stumble upon your upon your feed?
I think there's ways to go about mitigating that response, which is essentially marketing of the event.
Okay.
So, if you're, I definitely hear where you're coming from, but what I think is that there are a lot of ways to draw traffic to your pages, your socials, etc., that artists haven't always been using to their full advantage in the past anyway. So if you already have like a massive establishment, some hotshot celebrity, then you've got it right. So all the traffic will be coming there, and the stream or the live thing or whatever is going to be seen by, thousands or millions of people, versus somebody who decides to do the show like this afternoon, on a whim. It's a great idea for me to do a live stream, and then nobody pitches up, so to speak. It's the case, the biggest thing is about like how many people actually knew about it, and how far did you go to get it out there. So again, is it better to do it more often with less of a viewing, or is it better to make sure everybody that you can think of knows about it, and you've put in all the steps to make sure that they know about it, and that those streams become better quality and are viewed and ultimately benefit the viewer and the artist to the fullest extent.
Yeah, sure. I know. I think you make a very good point. And, just talking about advertising live streams, this one that we're doing now was just on a whim. I didn't have a chance to advertise it.
We sort of
because I said let's have a conversation and record it, and my plan was that I would release it on Friday as a podcast, and you said, well, why don't you just live stream it? So here we are. Well, at least we've got some people watching and listening. We've got Peter Collett and Michelle Rama and Ashley. They all listening, so shout out to them thank you very much for just dropping by.
Well, I still don't think that it's an exact science. So just to save ourselves there, there's a quote by somebody that says that 50% of the money you spend on marketing is wasted.
Okay.
But which 50%?
Yeah. Which 50%?
So there's no exact science as to how this all works, But I think it's about keeping it fresh and keeping it interesting and keeping people engaged. And as much as we make art and music is an art form, it's also undeniably become a product. We are all like consumers within this capitalist society, whatever you want to call it. And like, unless we find a way to deconstruct those things, we are going to be working within those grounds forever. And that means, marketing, spending money on it and getting it out there and making sure people hear you, and doing everything you can to get your message across in the most effective way possible.
Yeah. But I mean, like you were saying now with this gig that you're planning to do, is that I think that's like the right approach. Like you're saying, it's themed around a particular artist and the bands that he was involved in. It's a passion for you because you're passionate about their music, about him as a musician, and like you say, you've got some time. You can advertise it. People can look forward to that event, pencil it in, and make sure that they tune in when you do that live stream. So,
18 May.
18 May, yeah. You heard it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Nowhere else.
Yeah.
All 4 people listening now, please go tell 4 of your friends, and they must go tell 4 of their friends, and word of mouth.
Marketing by word of mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I was talking about messages, and I don't know if there's any particular like political underlying message or whatever what I'm doing.
Yes.
I think it definitely has to do more with art and appreciation for music. And although I've been playing in this blues band for 3-4 years, underneath or in my core, really, I'm just a kid who likes 90s rock and roll, basically. And I sort of ran from that for a while, just as I try to expand my understanding of music and who I am as a musician and an artist. So I think that's where I started getting into the blues so deeply, is finding out how much it influenced all the music that I like. And that's what hooked me onto that, and that's become part of my core style, maybe on top of or embedded with this profound love that I have for this 90s rock and roll thing that, and I hate to use the word grunge, but like grunge rock. I think that term is so loaded with horseshit, excuse my French, but I just, but that's essentially what I'm talking about, those kind of bands.
Yeah.
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Nirvana.
I mean, didn't Pearl Jam release an album recently? Have you listened to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And thoughts? I
have listened to it.
And thoughts?
I think that Pearl Jam is one of the hardest working bands on earth. And I think if you really weigh it up, they are the only band from that kind of era who's kept really doing what they do from day one until now.
Yeah.
In that sense. Like the other bands lost members and disbanded and got back together and whatnot, So there've been a few more variables with those bands versus Eddie Vedder and co.
Yeah.
It seems like they just kind of like push through.
But they've always had this thing from the beginning that they started, that this understanding that they all go off as artists and go and do other collaborations, other work, other, hook up with other bands, do other albums, and then every couple of years they come together and they do an album and off they go again, kind of thing. So I think I can remember. Sorry, man. I can remember watching a YouTube interview with Eddie Vedder, where he explained the the fact that they do that is one of the reasons why they've been a band that's still around with the same members, still pretty successful.
Yeah, I think there's a few. I think there's a few dynamics to take into consideration with regard to a band. If you're stuck with the same bunch of guys for like 30 years, you're bound to get sick of each other, at some point.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And if you're stuck doing the same thing over and over and over for 30 years, even if it's rock and roll, you're probably going to get sick of that. So I think finding new influences and expressing yourself in different ways just enable one to be to keep it fluid and to keep finding out how to do things better and to keep rediscovering the sort of passion that you have for your craft or whatever in the first place. That's why artists hopefully mature, develop their craft, become better at what they do, and more versed in it. You don't want to hear the same album being written over and over and over. And there's like a great band to think about in that sense is like Love Them or Hate Them is Metallica. They've been pros at that, but like kind of reinventing themselves over the years to stay relevant. I just think that it's important as an artist to be involved with as much art as you can, as much music as you can, so that you never want to become stale. You never want to be doing the same old formula. Unless you're AC/DC, then somehow it just
it doesn't matter what song. Doesn't matter what song they play. I mean, it's AC/DC because it's just there's something.
They just figured out how to like put something together that just has kept working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about band members falling by the wayside, I think there's only one. I believe Brian Johnson's coming back, but But Angus Young is probably the last man standing there.
Yeah, barely.
Barely. Barely. I mean, like, if we talk about these bands, I mean, you know, I start thinking about the kind of bands that I'd love to be able to see live. AC/DC is one of them. Okay, Metallica I've seen live. Pearl Jam is another band I'd love to see live. But I'd love to see them in an environment like a small venue, you know, maybe smaller than the Barnyard kind of thing. I don't know. Would you like a nice acoustic set? What bands would you like to see?
I think different. Oh, there's so many. It's not a question I've thought about for so long, but like, you actually caught me off guard now. I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, well, think about it.
I think that the like the essence of what you're saying is that there's context plays a huge role in music or anything live. So watching like a mega band like Metallica or whatever in a stadium is a phenomenal experience, you know. But seeing like a stripped down acoustic show like in a small club or something is, you know, as of an amazing experience, but in a different context, you know. So, and each of these artists should be able to lend them their skills to those environments, because they create different experiences for people, you know. And that's why you want to go to a show in the first place, you know. You don't want to excuse me, go there and like gruel through it because you don't really want to be there, but then you get to post on Facebook that you went. I mean, some people want to do that, but you know, like don't watch one song, but then it's like, oh my God, like, this has been amazing, you know. But you want to go for experience because you want to take something in from being there, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I think all the artists that I really want to see are all dead. So that's.
What are we talking?
That
Jimi
says
Hendrix,
something. Yeah.
You know, those kind of guys.
Talking like Hendrix and like B.B. King.
Yeah.
You know, and those kind of. I'd love to have a time machine and just go back and experience that kind of music, like in its, like, you know, birth, or like this electric, chaotic thing that was happening with like the blues and whatever, you know.
But I mean, can you imagine?
That's kind of what I'd like.
Can you imagine if Jimi Hendrix hadn't passed away? I mean, I wonder what kind of other music he would have brought out. Because I mean, in reality, he actually didn't have a very long career. What was it? Spanned 10 years maximum. I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know what the chronology of his career is exactly, but I mean, he was only 27 when he died. Like a lot of, you know, a lot of artists, Kurt Cobain as well. While we're on that
27 club, eh?
It's strange. It's a strange thought because those artists for me have always been like I don't know, this almost like this untouchable entity, you know, like Hendrix, 27 years old, you know, like, you know, god of guitar.
Yeah.
And this year I turned 27, and this weird chill.
Yes, of course.
Me, yeah. No, not because I think I'm a hero, just because I'm the same age as what they were.
Yeah.
How much they'd accomplished compared to how much I feel like I've accomplished, you know. They were like on this whole other level, and I'm like, it's not like a childhood thing anymore. It's like I'm the same age as what those guys were, and I'm like, I still feel like I'm so far away from where I want to be.
Yeah.
Musically, you know.
Yeah. Well, talking about your birthday, unfortunately, I didn't make your birthday at the Radium. Sorry about that, buddy.
I'm just gonna have to terminate this right now.
So I'm gonna have to make it up to you somehow. So how was it?
Yeah.
How was it? I mean, it was your birthday. You're playing a gig at the Radium.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest shows of my life.
Awesome.
Man. Maybe the coolest show of my life. So that was on the 14th of March. which is a significant date in SA because Uncle Cyril made his announcement the next day.
Oh, yeah.
With regard to chaos and disaster in the world.
Yeah.
So, so luckily it was sold out. The show was sold out. Like, I mean, we're regulars there now, so we've built up like a pretty cool following, and we love the radio. And we had some guests. Pepe Demeski from Gunshot Blue / he's the owner of SA Hardcore Tattoo. He's a pal of mine. He graced us with his guitar prowess on the stage as well, which was awesome. Just to share it with friends, and it was just such a cool show, and it was packed, and everything was amazing. And it was so funny. Like, we were like backstage. If you've ever been to the radio, you know, like
backstage.
There's an old upstairs section, you know, with pool tables and stuff, and we like hanging out there, having a cigar, you know. And we set the scene for you, like, you know, Pepe loves these cigars. We got like some good whiskey and just having a chill. And I was like, guys, we really need to go and smash it out there tonight, because I don't think we're gonna be able to do this for a while. And the guys were like, nah, it's gonna be fun, man. And like, nah, it's not. So we went out and smashed it anyway. And luckily so, because the next day, Uncle Cyril said, listen, you can't do this anymore.
Sorry for you.
You guys need to, you guys need to stay at home. So
crazy. Crazy.
It was pretty intense, but being like a birthday celebration and like a rock and roll 27 number or whatever, it was just a really cool experience.
Well, definitely. I mean, you got some, you know, memories around that. I mean, 27, birthday at the Radium, the day before the world changed forever. You know, never to be the same again, kind of thing. Because I mean, who knows when this is going to end? And I mean, even when Cyril pulled the trigger, I don't think we actually realized what the impact was going to be. You know, it's only as the days unfolded and the weeks went by and things were looking a bit bleaker and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what thoughts were going through your mind? I mean, I'm sure you had gigs planned and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
like in one fell swoop, my years worth of gigs were all canned.
Yeah.
You know, like basically, so the 14th was Saturday, so the 15th was Sunday, Monday, like no more gigs. Just, not only me, I mean, like the whole music industry in South Africa just like crumbled.
Yeah.
And that was extremely difficult for a lot of people. Fortunately enough, I wasn't that badly affected by it because I've got means in place to be able to sustain myself, you know, where other artists and musicians may not.
Yeah.
So understandably, it's been a very, very trying time for the music industry and for musicians and artists, and not only musicians and artists. Obviously, we're just speaking in that context.
Yeah.
For everybody, it's been tough, but for a lot of people, they could kind of carry on with things for a while after that, where musicians just lost their shows like the next day.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone.
Yeah.
So that salary that you're expecting or waiting for, whatever, is just like, it's not there, you know. A lot of people have turned to the online world to try to make ends meet and whatever, which is, I think, great in its own sense, because it's developing a different kind of approach to, you know, how you work and why you work. So, for example, like, you know, the live streams and other platforms. Like, I've been teaching guitar online, for example, which is something that I haven't done in years.
Okay.
And it was just a cool idea to start to do that, and it's been really rewarding. Just to share a bit of knowledge that I've gained over the years of playing and performing, and it's a little bit more tailored to one's experience of the music industry, as opposed to like this is a G, this is a A. I'm not really that kind of guy. It's more of a practical / conversation,
Sure.
you know.
And I mean, are you doing that one-on-one, or
Yeah.
you're doing that one-on-one with people?
Yeah, I can give you a guitar lesson right now, bro.
Go for it, dude.
There we go. Where's your guitar? You know?
It's over here.
So yeah, I mean, it's been as simple as that. But again, I've had the band and my own like career to kind of help me with clients and, you know, become more established, where some artists may have been struggling. Maybe they don't have the means in place. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of speculating. But yeah, I know that for a lot of people, it's been
tough. Yeah.
It's been tough.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that this time should be used to your best advantage. And I mean, I speak from a position of privilege. So what I'm saying is not going to resonate with everybody, because everyone has got different circumstances. But if you have been in a position where your basic necessities, etc., are taken care of, then I think it's up to you to utilize that time to really make something of it. You know, if you need a downtime, you know, from burnout, from the rat race, then you should have used it for that. You know, if there was a new skill that you wanted to develop, you know, that shed that you didn't paint, whatever, you know, if there's a business idea that you've had that you've been meaning to put together and you've got the time, do it, you know. And for people fortunate enough to be in the positions to be able to, if you haven't utilized the time, I think it's just weeks, months that you've wasted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think has become very important to me in my life is the concept of time and how you utilize your time. And turning 27 was that sort of the epiphany, you know,
like
just realizing that there's a lot that you can get done in a 24-hour day. You know?
Yeah. So I must admit, like for me, I mean, okay, not from a musician's point of view, but just from a, you know, a guy that's, you know, got a busy life, you know, work, play, that kind of stuff. I think, you know, having this sort of like lockdown where you've got no choice but to, you know, adjust how you're living. You do start to, you know, the things that you've taken for granted, like spending time with your friends. You know, all of a sudden you realize, okay, I'm not going out and hanging with my mates anymore. I can't go grab a beer, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm pretty cool on my own and all that kind of thing. But like all of a sudden I'm like, sure, I'm missing spending time with my mates, you know, and I'm, you know, try and keep in contact with them on WhatsApp and all that, but it's not the same. And do video calls like this, it's, again, not the same. So I'm looking forward to that first sort of official get out and go have a beer, come watch Black Harbour play their first gig, you know, so you know what I'm saying is that you start appreciating those things that you took for granted. At least I do. And like you say, I mean, the first week or two, I was like, just ambling around. You know, it's almost like I was on holiday, but I was still working, you know, and I hadn't really thought about, okay, how am I going to change things to take advantage of, let's say, in inverted commas, the extra time that I have on my hands. And like you say, I mean, it's yeah, look, I mean, like you say, everyone's in a different situation. Everyone's dealing with it in a different way. Everyone's got different challenges, etc. But yeah, I suppose also in a way, it also, you know, I've started connecting with mates around the world that I haven't spoken to for years. Yeah, we've dropped a message, you know, here and there and whatever. But I mean, it's actually, we've like taken time out, you know, do a Skype chat, catch up. And so I suppose there definitely are positives that have come out of this situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of development that we've been forced to utilize, or, you know, we started utilizing, which have been at our disposal, you know, for years that we just haven't used.
Yeah.
And the biggest tool is the internet. And the amount of garbage that I see on the internet, like, is just staggering.
Yeah.
And like the amount of memes and like jokes and absolute shit that exists on the internet, you know, and like this, I mean, it's got its place as well. Drawing some humor out of like dark situations. Like, I'm the first one for like some dark humor, you know, but there's so much at your disposal just on your cell phone, you know.
Yeah.
And how much of the time is just wasted, like sharing like bullshit online. Just really,
Yeah.
it baffles me, man. Like you said, there's been time to catch up with people, you know, get something going, like you can communicate with anybody in the world at any time.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so powerful, but yet people don't use that to their fullest, you know. And there's nothing stopping you from messaging, you know, 50,000 people to get your business going or something, you know. And that's exactly where the world is at. So I just feel like people's excuses in their lives are just excuses, you know. Is again speaking from a kind of privileged position, but I think that, like, yeah, I can go on about this a little bit. Feel strongly that you need to go there and get your shit together.
Oh, it's true. I think we have to make the most of the situation, and like you say, I mean, it's an opportunity for people to think about things differently, try and do things differently, and when we come out of this, whenever that may be, you know, life will be different. We'll do things differently. You know, like you were saying, you know, this whole thing about the internet, and so if I talk about the podcast, just before the lockdown, I was busy putting together a podcast studio at my place here, and it's basically it's finished now, but it's not being used because, you know, my whole idea was that I want to do face-to-face conversations with people, and I thought that that's a lot better than doing it like we're doing now, and but obviously now I've been forced to do it this way to keep the podcast going, and it's working well. And I mean, I've, you know, every now and again you have a sound issue, but you know, it's opened me up to something that I wouldn't have been doing before, because I was resisting doing it as a video call like this. And then what I've realized is that by doing that, you limit yourself to the kind of people that you can have conversations with, especially if you want them face to face. I mean, before the lockdown, I was planning a trip down to Cape Town to go and do some podcast conversations. So I was going to fly down to Cape Town, go there for a week, visit my folks, visit the family. But then during that week, I was planning to do like something like, I don't know, 7 or 10 podcast conversations. Because I wanted to do them face to face, which would be nice to do, but you do realize that now all of a sudden you can't do that. So the people that are down in Cape Town that I wanted to have a conversation with, well, what do? Do I put that on hold, or do I embrace the technology side of being able to call them up on a Skype call, set it up in a format like this, and get it out, you know, get the conversation out to the people. So definitely without the lockdown, I wouldn't have realized, or maybe I would have eventually, but I was resisting the whole technology thing.
Yeah, that's exactly, you know, the point that I was making a little earlier is just about adapting. You know, that's if you become too fixed on a way that something is supposed to work, your whole world will crumble if you think that thing's not working, until you realize that there is a different way to do it. There is another way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that people need to realize, is that they need to keep an open mind and to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, what's your feeling?
Yeah.
What's your feeling about like the venues that you used to play at that now during this time?
Oh, man.
I mean, Calexico is gone.
I know venues are absolutely, you know, they've been smashed by this.
Yeah.
I've got my heart's really sore for a lot of venues and organizers and that, you know. it's really a tricky one. I guess the only thing that they have is like resilience, or I can't really comment on it too much because I'm not in there. I wouldn't be so like arrogant to give them my 2 cents worth of what's going on. All I can say is that I just feel my heart is bleeding for the live venues and places that require like a lot of people, and social gatherings, and that I know that kind of those people have been affected by this thing, massive way,
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think the venues are the only businesses that are suffering, but I was just thinking that, I mean, like, some of the establishments might still be there afterwards, who knows? Some of them won't. I mean, there's opportunity for new venues at a later stage. So I suppose there are opportunities again for people to re-look at the whole venue thing. Yeah.
I think out of the chaos, there will definitely be good. And I do have a positive approach to everything that's happening. I do feel like there's going to be positive changes that come from all of us. I think when everything starts to settle and the tide sort of goes out again, that people will be hungry for live music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for live environments. And as soon as people realize that when we get to that point where it's safe, and people feel safe to be in crowds and so forth, I definitely feel like there'll be a revival in the live environment, and I mean, we've seen it. It's not the same doing, yes, there's a benefit to being able to work online and so forth. And I think in a lot of instances, like companies who don't need to have staff present, you've seen how many people involved in computers and IT, etc., can all work from home,
Yeah.
So keep it like that.
Yeah.
Save overheads of spending like millions on rent and so forth. But where you do need to be in that live environment and you do need to be with people, I do think people will be really hungry to go all out with those kinds of events and those kinds of environments, and I'm looking forward to that. And I just hope I can catch that wave.
See, so what level do we have to be in South Africa for these like a live gig to happen? I mean, what, level 1?
Level -1.
Level -1. So have you tried to sing with a mic with your face mask on?
It's not possible, man. You're just in it,
Yeah. No, that's hectic, man.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing as yet.
Yeah, well, I look forward to
that
that first gig, dude. I can't wait.
As do I, man.
I have to tell you, I've been rewatching some video footage that I'd taken at different venues where the Music Box at Hard Rock, Radium, just to listen to the stuff again. It takes you back to that moment when one watched that stuff live. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and it just does something for the soul. Live music has always been like right in my soul.
Yeah.
Right there in the blood, and there's just something about that energy and that feeling that is indescribable.
Yeah.
It's just something so important to me, and like personally, I can't wait to get back on the stage.
I mean, you must be missing it.
Yeah, like I said, the downtime has been great for the artistic process. But in a couple months, whenever things are back up and running, I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about your music per se, your creative side of things. When you, because I mean, a lot of your songs that you do are covers. really enjoy your original stuff. I wish when you were playing live gigs you played more of your original stuff. But I understand that the venue sometimes they want covers to be played, so that's fair enough. But do you like to take a song by another band and make it your own? I mean, you've done that with Queens of Stone Age. You've done that with White Stripes. I mean, during this time, are you looking? I mean, you're going to do some Chris Cornell stuff later on the 18th of May, right?
Yeah. So I think that the whole process I've been going through now is like kind of veering from the blues, and I don't really want to speak about it too much because it's kind of under the radar.
No, you don't have to talk about the Chris Cornell thing. But I'm just saying in general. I mean, do you enjoy taking another artist's song and then making it your own, and then going and playing it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of how like I started building my own style. Was not trying to copy anything to a T and just trying to build it up to how I might have written it, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, or might perform it. So it's always been. I think the case in point is like the way that blues music is so easily put into an interpretive is interpreted.
Yes.
And different, like it's the same essentially at its core, but it's performed differently by different artists and different voices and instruments and whatever, and that's always been extremely interesting to me. It's like two people can play the exact same note, but it doesn't sound the same.
Yeah, sure.
It's just got a completely different feel. So I think that sort of built the foundation of a lot of our sound, and also it's also had to do with the band being really new and kind of getting or establishing some sort of familiarity with people who may not have seen the band before. And if you're not familiar with the original material, then you will possibly be familiar with some of the covers,
Yeah.
Especially if it's a similar style to the music that you like.
Yeah.
But we're kind of falling from that as we progress. And like I said, a lot of the time spent has been writing new music and prepping for that, maybe like the next journey of the band. So yeah, that's kind of where we're heading towards, is to just defining it even more, or undefining it even more.
Yeah. That's good stuff, dude. So we're up for an hour. I think that's a good critical mass.
Good chat.
Yeah. So would it work if you played a song now?
I tell you what, let me save it.
Okay.
For the next one.
Yeah.
That we do.
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't have anything prepped right now.
Okay.
I'll
put you on the spot, man. I'll put you on the spot.
But
that's
you're
cool.
way on the spot, man.
Then that just means that we look forward to the next time.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So
I'll see you later.
So what I'll do is I'll release this as a podcast on Friday as well. I've recorded the sound. I've recorded the video. With those minor technical issues in the beginning, but I think I've ironed those out. It's so difficult to test it, though. Anyway, I screwed it up on Saturday. I was doing a live feed with some other mates of mine, and I screwed it up. And it was like this whole echoing thing, and they busy talking, and I'm trying to flip and, mess around with the technology to get the damn thing right. Eventually got it right, but by then everyone had left, so... Oops. Anyway, we live and learn. So, I mean, closing, have you ever had a bad sound experience where you've gone to do a gig and it's just one of those days that nothing, everything's going wrong, the sound's not the way that you want it to be?
I think a more suitable question would be, have I ever had a good sound gig? That would be a closer. That would, and I can say, yeah, this one time in 2017,
Yeah.
I had it was pretty close.
Yeah, it was hooked up.
Yeah.
It was hooked up.
I mean, the sound is such an untamable thing. I mean, like we have all these things we can do to try to get it but it's never perfect.
Yeah.
It's never perfect. There's always a variable somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, how do you find, you're playing in different venues all the time? Some of them are closed, some of them are open. How do you, and then some will have their own sound equipment, like their own sound desk, like Hard Rock, or,
you just end up establishing your own sort of like the tools that you need. And you become so used to how it needs to feel, and often you'll have your own engineer, etc., who understands all the different technicalities, and you can try to get as close to your ideal sound as possible.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's never. So maybe that's some food for thought. It's just tweak it until it works, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, anyway, I was a little bit flustered on Saturday because I was a bit pissed off because. Anyway, I didn't know what the problem was, so eventually I sorted it out. But a lot of the time, most of the time, I didn't get put off by the whole thing. But because generally you know what you need to do to fix it. In this case, I didn't know what the hell I had to do to fix it, so I was a little bit peed off because I was a bit irritated because I was just frustrated. What does this button
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. Yeah. Anyway, cool, dude. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
100%.
Right, there you have it. It is definitely a tough and challenging time for a lot of people, including musicians. So if you have a favorite South African musician, keep an eye out on social media for some initiatives that they're putting out there to keep you entertained, and try and support them in any way that you can. Right, and don't forget about Ross's Chris Cornell special that will be coming up on the 18th of May. And as always, thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow on Spotify, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and drop me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Right, and don't forget that there are also live streams on a Saturday at 10 a.m., and you'll find those on YouTube and Instagram. And that, my friends, is the end. I'll catch you next time.